This is not a fun video for me to film. Everything that went wrong, I did on purpose, and it hurt to do it, and it hurt to edit it, and it hurts to be talking about it. But before we get into what we're doing today, hi, I'm Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are here for another round of 365 days of soap. And today we are almost done with the big lather test soaps, and we are doing a beer soap today. Now normally I'm amazing at beer soaps. Like, I make a lot of them. They sell out very quickly in the shop and online, and so I'm always making, giant batches of beer soaps. But things did not go according to plan today. Now, they started to not go according to plan, and I could have fixed it at that point, but instead of doing so, I thought it's a really good opportunity to show you what certain problems with your soap batter actually looks like, because we read things about ricing and seizing and separation, but I'm going to show you what that looks like, in real time. And yeah, all of those things happened. Literally everything that could have gone wrong with soap went wrong with soap today. So do you want to watch? I don't want to show you, but I'm gonna, so let's go. Okay, so this is one of those videos where I feel like maybe I need to get drunk before actually doing the voiceover, because this one is painful for me, like physically painful. So welcome, you're along for the painful ride. So right now I have frozen my beer into ice cubes, and I am adding them to my pot there. And I am actually substituting only 50% of the water for beer in this, and you can substitute up to 100% of your liquid for beer or wine, depending on the type of wine, really, in an alcohol soap. So, I should be really great within, my parameters, my guidelines. It should be awesome. I'm actually soaping at about a 30% solution with this one. So 30% lye, 70% liquids, should be great. No problems whatsoever. Yeah, this soap has nothing but problems. Anyway, we are now going to add the lye to the container there and melt the ice cubes, which is actually really, really cool. It's fun. I love doing the beer and wine soaps in classes because the participants get to do exactly this. They get to put the lye into these ice cubes and watch them melt down with this awesome exothermic reaction, and it's fun and I enjoy it. I don't enjoy this pour. This is not, you'll see what's gonna happen. So the lye has been measured out at this point, and now I am going to take my skewer and melt down those ice cubes. And you see how the solution is getting darker? And that's to be expected with a beer soap. The color of the beer is going to impact the color of the lye solution. It doesn't always impact the overall color of the soap though, depending on what kind of beer you're using and what things go into, making the beer itself. This particular solution, I've done this enough to know that I actually do have to add micas in order to color this soap the right way, because that beautiful sort of, you know, honey color will not survive the saponification process. So I do have to add some extra micas, which, you know, I'm gonna do. But ultimately, you know, spoiler alert, it's not gonna matter with this bar. It's whew. Did I mention that this one is really painful for me? It's painful. Anyway, that is going to cool down. It's currently sitting at around 150 degrees, which is actually cool for most lye solutions. Usually it gets up between 180 and 200 degrees, and then you have to let it cool down to at least 120. My oils are now sitting at 93 degrees, and my lye is sitting at, oh, what is it, 120. Right, so there's about a 30-degree difference between the oils and the lye water. And you read these things online that say, you know, hey, you should soap within 10 degrees of your oils and your water. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna show you what happens when you don't. And we're gonna go ahead and mix this thing up, and we are going to find emulsification with it, and it's gonna be great. Sure. Now, for incorporating beer into, you know, soap, what is the point? Obviously, we are doing this during the big lather test. So the biggest point is we are trying to see what it looks like as far as the lather goes. How much does it boost the lather? What kind of lather can we expect from a beer soap versus a milk soap or a soap that has no additives in it? And that's the point. But also, beer in soap actually has a lot of cool extra awesome in that it has a lot of amino acids, right, because of the hops that are in beer. And so it's very skin softening. It's very cool. Love that. And also beer, it can be naturally antibacterial, which is awesome because everybody's always asking for antibacterial soaps these days. So there you go. And there is also a lot of vitamin B found in the amino acids in the hops that are in beers, and that helps out with skin softening. Anyway, on to the pour, and see that? That right there is where I knew the batch was going wrong. That is separation. I did not mix this enough. Now, what I should have done at this point is poured this right back into the big bucket and took the stick blender to it, took the whisk to it, whatever, continued to mix it until it was properly emulsified. But I decided at this exact moment, hey, we're gonna try all kinds of things you're not supposed to do in soap, so you can see what it looks like. Because we have a lot of things out there that say, you know, don't do this or always do that, but not a lot of examples of what happens when you break those rules. And, you know, we broke the rules like with the coconut, the 100% coconut oil soap with the dish soap, right? And we broke the rules with the coconut milk soaps and not freezing the milk. And I like to break the rules and show you what happens. And so that's what I decided to do at that exact moment when I saw the separation. Now that said, it is still hard for me to do this. I knew what this batch was going to do. I knew it was going to rice. It's ricing right now. And I will take the stick blender to it because it says on the interwebs to take a stick blender to, you know, soap that has riced to sort of loosen up the soap batter and make it more pliable. And so I'm going to do that and show you what happens. And look, doesn't it look like mashed potatoes? Isn't that awesome? Wouldn't you be excited to soap with that? Yeah, no, the answer is no to that. You don't want to soap with that. So we're gonna soap with it, and we are going to glop it into the mold because there is no fixing this this bar at this point. I mean, actually there is fixing the bar at this point, but again, I'm going to show you this became the perfect storm. This actual batch became the perfect storm, and I could have not posted it, honestly. I could have not done it. But that's not what this channel is about. This channel is not about perfectly formed whatever soaps, because I mean, I already know how to make perfectly formed soaps, and you can check my line and, you know, see that for yourself. I So that's great, and that's beautiful, and that's awesome. But also, I am more about experimentation than anything else. And for those visual learners out there, the things that we are told to do or not to do, again, sometimes you can break those rules, and sometimes this is what happens when you break those rules. So what rules have we broken, right? We did not keep our oils and our lye water within 10 degrees of each other. Okay, so my oils were a little bit cold and my lye was quite a bit hot, especially considering it's a beer soap, so you have the extra sugars from the alcohols in there, which is going to heat up the entire process and make things, you know, crazy and do weird things. So there's one rule. Rule number 2, what do we break? I saw separation. I noticed separation, and instead of putting it back into the pot and continuing to mix it, I decided to roll with it. Okay, rule 2. 3, I saw ricing, and instead of, I don't know, ignoring ricing like I usually do and just pouring it into the soap, into the pot, or I'm sorry, the mold, I took a stick blender to it like we are told to do on the interwebs, and I was left with gloppy mashed potatoes. Now, would it have loosened up if I had continued to mix it? Maybe. I don't really see that happening. Now look at this guy. The first little bit that I poured off, right? It looked fine, kinda, sitting there in the Pyrex while I was trying to put this stuff into the mold. But once I took a spatula to it, look at that. We have so many problems with this soap. So many problems. And again, because it's separated, a lot of the oils were, you know, at the bottom of the big black pot. And a lot of the liquids, the water and the beer, had sort of found their way to the top because, you know, gravity. And so this portion right here has a lot of extra water in it, and a lot of extra water can lead to problems in your soap. The biggest problem being, you know, glycerin rivers, and that's not actually a problem. It doesn't impact the, you know, usability of the soap. It just impacts the look. But it's easier to work with, but we do have some definite lumps going on here, and those are not lumps that I'm going to be able to work out, and I'm not going to take a stick blender to that because no. And yeah, so we're gonna pour it into the molds, and we are going to, you know, see what happens after a night of curing. We are going to pop it. I'm going to get as much heat as I possibly can to this bar to see if that will fix any of it. Yeah, so 3 rules have been broken, and in breaking all 3 of those rules at the same time, it again created the absolute perfect storm. So we have the separation, we have the ricing, we have the acceleration of trace, we have everything that could go wrong with a batch of soap went wrong right here. The only thing that is left to be determined is whether or not, and you see the big firm pockets there, like solidified oils, that's from my solid oils being yep. The only thing left to determine is whether or not we have lye heavy pockets as a result of it not being properly mixed. Okay, so day 2, we are on to the cut. I have already cut up this bar, and I already know exactly what I'm looking at, and it is not pretty. It's not, look at that. So that is a solid oil pocket because again, the oils were too cool, and so the solid bits of it, the palm and the coconut, they re-solidified. And normally that can be okay, but because we had so many problems with separation, I didn't mix it enough. We have actual pockets of, you know, oil hanging out. And look at that, that shows that the titanium dioxide and the kaolin clay were not well mixed. We have holes throughout these bars. It's a very rough, I wouldn't even call this rustic, I would call this just gross. I mean, this is nothing that I would ever sell, right? Like, this is just a not good batch of soap. And I am I'm blown away. Like this is, again, this is physically painful for me. I have never had a batch of soap be this bad. But you know, we're learning. And this is, again, I could have not put this in, but once I saw the separation, I'm like, we're going to break all the rules and show you what happens and what to look for in broken batches of soap. Speaking of broken batches of soap, all of my big lather test soaps were made on the same day, right? Because I wanted to give them the exact same amount of time to cure. And look at this guy. I can't break him. He's well formed. He's awesome. This is the coconut milk soap. He's good. There's no breakage. Okay. So look what I did to the beer soaps. Like, let's just check it out and see how easy it is to break a beer soap. Again, same amount of curing, same curing time, and look how easy it is to break it up. That's a problem. That's a problem. That's not an end of the world problem. You can still use this bar. It's still safe. There's no lye pockets. This is not a lye heavy soap. It's still usable. That was a disaster, right? A complete and total disaster. The soap, the end soap, it's ugly. It's not great. It's bad. And that sucks. But, you know, I hope you learned something throughout that process. It's nice to be able to have an actual visual to some of the things that, you know, soap batter can do. And you got a visual for all of them today. And yeah, that's not fun for me, but maybe it was fun and entertaining for you. If you are interested in purchasing well-formed beer soaps, you can find them on the website. I have 4 options. I have the Black and Tan, I have the Oktoberfest, the Chestnut Porter, and the Spicy Orange IPA. And they're great. They're wonderful. It's a big, beautiful lather, and they look much better than these, I promise. Because I'm not bush league around here. I did this on purpose. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us for another round of 365 days of soap. I really appreciate it. If you are interested in continuing the big lather test, you know, subscribe, be notified, whatever. If you're interested in following me on social media, you can find me at Soap and Play on Instagram and Twitter, and I don't even use soap on Facebook. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the last round in the big lather test soaps, and then we're gonna do the test. Thanks, bye.